And we're back, and this time I'm going to give you a short introduction to curves in Adobe Photoshop. You can find the image via the description link below. We'll go to adjustment layers and open the curves. You can resize that. It's important that we can see input and output, so make sure you've got it sized up. At first, there are some presets that you can use. For example, some contrast or even abstract effects like this color negative. But we want to start with the default and adjust it manually. The main channel is the RGB, but we've also got red, green and blue channels separated so that we can adjust them individually. Let's get back to the main channel, and we've got the auto function up here. In many cases Photoshop gives you quite a good result, but you can't undo it by clicking on it again. You'll have to use Ctrl Z. There's also an undo button down here. And there are more functions like making it invisible, deleting the layer, or when you've got multiple layers below to adjust the function of it. Let us look at the curve itself. So it's a straight line now. And when we look at input and output, we can see that we've got the same values for input and output when we've got this straight line. So on the left, you've got the shadows, and on the right, the highlights. And it's 256 values. So from 0 to 255. And when we hold Alt and drag it from right to left, we can see how the highlights are getting adjusted. And from left to right, holding Alt, we can see how the shadows are being adjusted. Let's do that, and I'll explain you what input and output means here. So I drag it from left to right and it becomes darker, as everything now that has an input of 85 or lower is set to 0. So it makes all of these shades of gray completely black. Same goes when we go from right to left, everything becomes lighter. So everything with an input of 173 or higher is set to an output of 255. You can also drag it on the y-axis, which adjusts the output. So the x-axis is for the input, and the y-axis for the output. And it has basically the same effect. And if we want to adjust it, hold Alt, drag it a little bit to the left and right until you can see adjustments being made. The histogram in the background gives you also a very good indicator of when it happens. For example, here left to right, we don't have to adjust anything as it's already put correctly in place. When you drag the midtones up and down, you make it lighter or darker as well as you adjust the midtones. And you can add new points and add these quarter points. So for the individual color channels, it adjusts obviously only the red color here. When we select the red color channel, right to left it adds red, and left to right it subtracts it. For the green, it's the same game. We can add some green by going to the left, and we can subtract it in the other direction. And you can also add colors to the midtones or subtract them by simply clicking on the curve, dragging it up or down. And these are the basics of the curve adjustment layer in Adobe Photoshop. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.